do the like that?
This meeting is being recorded, in case you didn't know. Hey guys, and everybody out there potentially watching this in the future, welcome to Global Resources for Men and Alex Bowser and myself, of course, Elysia Buss. Alex is currently located in Denver, Colorado, as his family unfortunately just had a loss of someone very important to them. He normally resides in Central Valley, which is close to Fresno, if some of you need a larger city to think about. And he has the incredible movement, Breathe Human. And I feel very lucky for us to get to have him here today on the show, as he's going to share a little bit about his personal story and teach you some really great resources of how to get through yours. Alex, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely, Elysia. Thank you for that amazing introduction, and happy to be here, gentlemen.
Very welcome. So, Alex, tell us a little bit more about you and your epic story, going from couch bum to having multiple streams of income and addiction and like that whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting story that I didn't really know I had a story until I started telling it in larger network marketing groups, very successful people, and they're all just kind of like, hey, that's not normal. Like, what do you mean?
You're like, what do you mean?
What do you mean? This is how people live. They're like, no, you gotta start sharing that more. I was like, okay, and then I started refining it a little bit, and it's really grown into the Breathe Human movement, and that's, you know, the eye on the prize at the end of the tunnel that I'm looking to build, and it's been an amazing journey so far, and I couldn't really be happier. But to kind of scale back, I mean, just the nuts and bolts. It's a story of tragedy and triumph, like most of us have right now. But the lessons that I've learned, have been able to apply and then educate to other men, other women, truly, I guess, are special. And so let's go back to high school. Back to high school, I was the talented athlete that was an all-star in like whatever I wanted to do. I was college, NCAA recruit, football. I was, you know, captain of the football team, defensive player of the all-star game. I played against guys, Cliff Harris and a few others that went to the NFL. And my best friends, we got MVPs of that game. And through our success, it kind of bolstered our testosterone. So when we got into college, we just did whatever we want with whoever, lived the high life. And we really took advantage of the gifts that we had. And I was also in the ROTC to be a pilot with the Air Force. I was a molecular bio major, 11 workouts a week, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of friends. Like I was like, I figured I was the Van Wilder of my freshman year. I just, everywhere I went, I couldn't see anybody I didn't know. Bowser, right. What's I doing? Like I was just living on top. And that was really like the epitome of, I guess, the popular lifestyle. Very, very well known. Good reputation for some, horrible reputation with others. It just depends who you asked and what party I was at.
Sure.
But I really didn't have any regard for anybody else. I found myself, I was sleeping with a lot of dudes, girls, and just kind of bad stuff, right? I just didn't really care.
Right.
It was me. I was thinking about me. What am I going to do? How am I going to get ahead? And I wasn't thinking about anybody else. So I started causing a lot of damage, broke a lot of hearts. And eventually karma just said, okay, you have this huge built up rapport with karma right now. It's time to cash in. So I ended up falling in love with this gal, and my parents had just moved back. So I was 18 on my own. Beautiful gal, fun, best friend. And she kind of took me in. Family was highly religious, never been with a huge Christian girl. She's the youngest of 7. And family owned this huge chicken ranch plantation down in Traver, multi-millionaires. And it started getting to that point where like, hey, move in with us. We want you to be part of the family. We want you to marry her. We want you to start running with the business. And here I am just thinking my life just keeps going up.
Right.
I dominated college. Now I don't have to get the molecular bio degree. Now I don't have to be the athlete anymore. Now I don't have to be a pilot anymore. I could just give all that up and go with this girl. I gave up the fraternity, and I was like, okay, I'm all in on this. And we lasted 11 months. And at about month 5 or 6, I started realizing, hey, something's wrong. Something's off right here. Okay. And this might be like lesson number one for the guys in this group is if you're in a toxic relationship and that voice in your head is saying, hey, you shouldn't go back to her. This is bad. No, no, red flag. You should probably listen to that voice. Um, it took me 5 months to really listen to it. And we started kind of detaching a little bit, but she really wanted to make it work. But to kind of give you an idea, I saw my best friends less than 5 times in 1 year. Because if I wasn't in class, I had to be with her. If I wasn't at work, I had to be with her. And then all her insecurities started coming up at about month 6, 7, and 8 from past relationships. I don't know why.
Right. Anxious attachment style. For those of you out there who haven't read the book Attached yet, definitely do so.
Yeah. And so it just started going downhill. But here I am trying to make it work. And she's trying to make it work in like a weird way. But in the end, it's just we weren't right for each other.
Sure.
Right? We were just toxic. But she's really wanted to get married. So we started looking at rings. We got promise rings. And she's like, you know what this means? I'm like, yes. So I fly home back to Denver where I'm at now, my grandma's house. And I'm sitting here and I just started getting real with myself. And I'm like, can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it with this gal. And so when I fly back, she picks me up. And I knew that I had to do it then. Because if I didn't do it then, we were going to have makeup sex. And then I was going to be stuck for like another 3-4 months before something happened. And I was like, can't do it. She's all excited. She runs and jumps on me. We get in the car and I just like, I can't do it. We have to end it. And it just went super awful. That was a horrible car ride home. It's like 1 a.m. She wakes up the whole family. So not only am I breaking up with her, I'm breaking up with the whole family in the middle of the night. Mom's like, how could you? Like, oh God. So I pack up most of my stuff. I sit in my Toyota truck, which I still have, and it hit me. I had no place to go. I lived with the family and I worked for the family. And in that one decision, that one night, I instantly became jobless and homeless. And that went on for about 2 or 3 years. I was a couch bum. I kind of started getting back in the fraternity, but they didn't fully accept me back. So I'd kind of sleep on my brother's couches here and there, a couple nights here, a couple nights there, bouncing around, reconnected with some buddies from high school that were still in college, started crashing on their floor. And one of my buddies, he's like, hey, do you get high? And I'm like, I do now. Like, I didn't have anything. All I had was university. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I was trying to reconnect with old relationships that I'd lost for the last 11 months. Right. Like, where did Bowser go? Like, who cares? We forgot about him. So I had this whole relearning to do, and it didn't escalate. It declined. I rescinded very, very fast. Had a blast though. A lot of blast. I never did the drug thing until then. And because I didn't have anything else. I was like, I don't have a job. I don't have anything else. So like, yeah, let's start getting fucked up.
So you're 19 at this point?
19. Yeah. So, well, before then I'd done ecstasy at raves and things like that, but I never did anything hard. So then there's weed, and then it was cocaine, and then it was meth, and then it was bath salts. And it just went lower and lower and lower and lower. And then it was LSD, it was shrooms, it was DMT. I just went every direction, and I just tore myself up. I lost all my identity, and I went from being like apex, yo, it's me, like, let's go have some fun. I'd meet somebody in the bookstore, and like we'd be best friends. And I lost all those abilities. Like, they were all stripped away from me. Every power I had and built as a man was now gone. If I saw friends that were friends of mine on campus at university, I would pull back. I'd watch them walk by because I didn't know how to like talk. I didn't physically, I looked defeated because after about a year or so, I'd lost all my muscle mass. I wasn't working out anymore. I was eating like 2 cups of noodles a day. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was completely malnourished. There was times when I'd spend 3 days awake, strung out, just tweaking, getting high. There's one time I spent like 2 hours combing through the carpet looking for little scraps of weed so I could pack a bowl.
Wow.
Just high as a kite. And then I had a couple of near-death experiences, and yeah, I survived two good drunk driving accidents. One was on my birthday where we rolled the truck like 6 times in a field.
Was the other person okay?
We all survived. One had a concussion. That was it. It was on my birthday and I wanted to go mud bogging. So we took my buddy's truck and he did great. I did great. It was a sober girl that wrecked us. Just saying. But yeah, that was kind of the life I was living for a little while. And I bounced around from job to job to job, couldn't maintain anything serious, and I didn't want any serious. So I got let go from a lot of jobs. But I always wanted to be a DJ. And in EDC 2010, I had an epiphany of what it was to bring people together for the first time. And that was through the power of music. So in my heart, I always knew I wanted to be a DJ, music producer, and just bring people together. As funny as it is, like a DJ really is like, yeah, seriously, a DJ. Race, religion, politics, socioeconomic status, none of that mattered on a dance floor. And I knew I wanted to bring that together. And it was that feeling in my heart is what's guided me to where I'm at now. And I never let go of that. And eventually I made really good friends with this girl, Brianna. Brianna was working at an intern for a wedding DJ company. So they specialized in weddings, but it was DJing nonetheless. She's like, hey, you got to come meet this guy. So she gets me introduced to him. And with that connection was like God's hand pulling down saying, okay, you've been here in hell enough. Let's start pulling you out. And I had the courage to follow it. And every step I took in that direction pulled me away from all the negativity. And I just started learning and learning and learning. I didn't even know how to plug in any of the gear. I learned how to plug in the gear. I learned how to talk to people again. And that career gave me all my abilities back tenfold. And it was following that dream. And then I had one more bad night, but it was it was the catalyst. It was the final powder keg to say, no more, we're done and we're going up. And that was partying. It was January 2015, LA, where I had taken, it was a little pill, little teeny tiny capsule, but it had a mass amount of concentrated of psilocybin. So if you had to eat like 3 bags of shrooms to get like what you would have gotten this. My buddy and I were experienced at this point. We're like, this little thing, nah, no way. The dealer's like, hey man, don't take 2. Just take 1. Do not take 2. I was like, yeah, whatever. And my ego kicks in, right? Well, we take the damn thing. I got to such a point out of this reality disconnect where I remember looking at the DJ and I couldn't see physical features anymore. All I can see is his blue luminescent soul in his movements. And then it just right to the infinite energy of the universe. And I remember thinking, I made it to heaven. This is heaven. Like, this has to be heaven. And I remember bouncing around in this infinite energy and this infinite glow. And I was so excited. And I was so happy that I made it to heaven. I was like, fuck yeah, this is great. And then I wake up to doot, doot, doot. I'm in the hospital. I'm handcuffed and I have IVs and a catheter in me. And I'm like, okay, what the hell?
So like, this is not heaven.
No, and I'm phasing in and out. So I'm like, it's like a total movie moment where like you come in and then you go out and you come in and you're like phasing in. And the nurse finally walks in and she's like, hey, your friend's here to pick you up. And then just goes, what? And then my buddy walks around the corner. He's like, dude, we lost you at the end of the concert. Like, we couldn't find you. And I was walking around outside the concert just yelling, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, over and over and over and over because of what I had experienced. And I couldn't fathom it. Like, I couldn't fathom what I had just seen and nobody else saw that. And I was trying to my mind wasn't connecting the dots. And when I think back, that's what it was. but I was coming to in the hospital bed. So they let me go and they give me all these drug reports and, hey, you should go seek counseling. I'm just like, whatever. Well, the car ride back, I finally level out and I'm like, holy shit, like what did I just experience? And this is where I started asking myself all these questions that I never asked myself before is, who is Alex Bowser? Like, what is my purpose here? Why am I back? Like, is this even, I mean, I have like this not identity crisis, but this identity rebirth on who I was. And I was like, if you were to stand on like either like a side of a wall, like here's this room and here's this room. And you're like, okay, I was this, but this can no longer be here. Something's changing, something's different. And for me, like out of my trajectory, my life point from apex to like down here, this was the final one on the down. And since that day in 2015, my life just went off the charts in all the right ways. I stopped asking, I started serving, and I realized that I was designed and built to serve others on their journeys to help them figure out what the hell's going on so they can rock it up too. Whether it's perspective, tools, skill sets, just listening, connecting them. Being a master connector is probably one of the greatest skills that I've learned over the past few years is you're this person, you need this person, and you connect them and that spark glows. Oh, we got another little friendly in here. What's up, Forrest? Come on, buddy. Oh, he just got a cut.
Is it another puppers?
It's another puppers. Come on, buddy.
Who we got? Who we got? Oh, look at that cutie pie. Hey, Forrest.
He's never looks as good. He's usually ratty, so he's feeling like a king right now. Yeah, buddy.
Got to go to the salon.
Yep. And I just started really paying attention to the signs or the coincidences.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking this exact thing, what I needed, and all of a sudden, next month or next week, it's here in my life now. Should I follow or should I not? Well, I follow. And I've learned that God winks at us through coincidence. So when I started listening to that voice in the head and like, hey, you should do this, I'm like, okay, yeah, I should probably do this. No matter how little a thing, I do it. And it just turns out to be some huge impact in somebody's life. It's interesting how it works. So I learned to listen to that voice in my head, and it's never really led me astray. It's led me to the next, to the next, to the next. And I'm like, okay, I'm here. Let me absorb this. And then I figure it out. I discard what I don't need. And then sure enough, here comes the next. Here comes the next. And it doesn't stop. But that's what the grind is, I suppose. And it's been a beautiful journey since then. I've been connected with some of the most amazing, influential entrepreneurs that have really took me in, taught me many, many skill sets, from vision casting to emotional intelligence, how to build companies, how to serve others. And man, it's really gotten me, it's really granted me everything I've ever asked for.
It's really beautiful. So where did Breathe Human come from?
Yeah. So I joined this network marketing company, Isogenics, a couple of years ago, and I really joined it for the leadership of a woman named Elysia Buss. And as a leader, leaders recognize leaders, and I don't want to associate with anybody but a true leader, because that essence, we glean from that.
Yeah.
And I had a few up until this point, and they were all kind of stepping stones, right? And I had this opportunity with Elysia Buss last year. She was ranked one of the top 10 most influential female entrepreneurs in our country. She has huge organization, just a queen of queens, like a true embodiment, right? And when I had joined with Isogenics, I started telling my story more, and this was where people, my friends, were all like, "Dude, you got to do something with this. Like, this is an inspirational story." So I started, and up until this point, I'd been studying Les Brown and all these others, so I kind of knew what to do. But when they were telling me what I had, I didn't realize what I had. But then I started thinking back. I was like, well, okay, I did beat homeless. I did beat couch bum. I was in the bottom of my hell, and I beat it without any professional like program really. I didn't seek anything out. I just listened to the signs that life had given me. So I had this whole blueprint on how to go from your personal hell where you get stuck in these loops over and over and over and over for years, right? Thinking it's getting better and it's worse and it's better and it's worse. These cycles, you get stuck in these cycles. Well, I figured out how to break that cycle and ascend. So Breathe Human, I don't like to say that I created it. It was what was given to me and helped me out, but I just put the name on it. And then I created the course for it. I created the blueprint. I put it all the way down. I said, okay, if you're here and you know it's time to leave this version of you and go to this version, right? If you want to go from this pond to this pond, this limbo period, I can help bridge that. I can help shine the light and show you the path, at least on your path, because in Breathe Human is all about finding your life's compass.
Yeah.
Mine's going this way. Yours is probably going that way. And a lot of the other coaches, they try and coach you to their direction. That's great if that's what that person wants to do, but if they don't even know what they want to do, how do they know that's the right coach?
Right.
So Breathe Human is like a starting point to map your GPS. Hi, Grandma. To map where you're at and stabilize where you're at in life, and then see where you need to remove things and where you need to put new energy. But the basic idea of Breathe Human is this. It's designed to take people back to basics. Back before all the bullshit, before the labels, before society told you what you are. Because there's the social identity that we're given, and there's our personal identity, right? Social identity, you're Black, you're from Compton, you're low socioeconomic status. This is the music you listen to, this is your life trajectory, right? You're Asian, you're this, you got to live up to these expectations. Or you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too this, right? That's what society says. And our minds are smart. And if we look like somebody, like a society is saying, if they're saying this about that person and I look like that person, then they're saying it about me.
Right.
Right. And with these beliefs come limiting beliefs as well. It's like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm this. It's like, well, are you really that? Or did somebody tell you that and you just believed it because you trusted them, but you're actually supposed to be this.
Yeah.
Right. And as we were talking before we got on the call, you wanted to work with horses, you want to work with the Aboriginals, you want to be a photographer, and they told you what?
They told me you're never going to make any money at that, like, and directed me toward a different career that, I mean, I suppose it could have been fulfilling, but it wasn't where my heart really was. Like, I wanted to connect in a way that was authentically mine, with story.
Yep.
With people that were more connected to nature and capturing the wonder really in the world.
Right. And when you were a kid, what they told you was, don't go that way. That makes you feel alive. They said, go this way.
That makes you money, in theory.
They make money. And that teaches us as kids a couple of things. One, to not pursue your passions, your dreams, and what you were designed to do, but to chase money. But then they also say money doesn't equal happiness. So right off from the bat, we're screwing our entire generation mentally. And then when you don't do this, and you do this because this is what you're told to do, if you're not living with fulfillment and you're not living life to the degree where you're vibing at a high frequency, and then you have kids, and you're the chink in the chain of these generational curses, where it's like, no, don't follow your dreams, follow money. Boom, 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 boom. Well, it's not the same for everybody, and there are people like me that break those cycles and those chains. Like, okay, you guys did great up until this point, but I'm fixing it. We're over here now, and we're going back up, right? But not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the ability to do that. Not everybody has been guided to do that. So that is a huge, in a weird way, if you can see it in your mind's eye, that's like a negative cancer infecting our society. Yeah. Drip, 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 drip. Because when it affects one person and they start lowering their vibration on how they operate as a human being, well, what is that going to do? That's going to influence others to say, this is the norm. This is okay. You can come down here and it's all right to be here. Well, now we have a whole society of people being just low vibing humans.
Well, the people operating out of fear.
Fear. scarcity. They don't want to be seen not fitting in. And that's why people, and from what I can see, why people conform to their social identity, because it's human nature to fit in.
Right. So like how do we create that space for people without shaming or invalidating their journey and like what they have experienced in life? Like how do we create those safe spaces, you know, especially for men to be vulnerable and step outside of the box and, you know, like outside of social standards that are like, you're supposed to be this as a man, especially since this is a men's
Yep.
group.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's by creating things like this, as small as it might be, as little people or the little population as it might have, instead of millions of people, it doesn't take money. I mean, Jesus, he had 9.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
creating,
it creates a ripple effect as we just show up as healthy role models in the world. And then other people we don't necessarily even talk to, they just see how we interact with others. And they're like, oh, like that's a possibility. And how did that make me feel? And maybe they'll treat somebody else differently because of it, because they saw that a better result came from that.
yep, absolutely. And that's where Breathe Human comes in for me. And I felt it was not my duty, but I don't want to say a moral obligation, because obligation kind of puts a duty aspect to it, but it was my honor and kind of my privilege to bring something like Breathe Human to the light. So I have this belief, and it was ever since I did that psychedelic trip at that concert, I was like, okay, each human, each soul is a different light. We all vibe at a different color. And I've spoke with other individuals who have deep dark, or not deep dark, but enlightening spiritual experiences through psychedelics. And they've said, I've seen other people's colors. I know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay. So if, in Breathe Human, if I can teach people what I did is turn tragedy into triumph, and how to see the negative as a hidden positive, and flip that script and that perspective to when tragedy hits, find the silver lining and fall through that crack to come out to enlightenment on the other side, and hit these hurdles like that every time and slip through them, then I can teach people to heal others through their light.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that because how I've healed, I attract a certain person, a certain pain individual, and I create a space for people that are here in my color or in my area to ascend, right? But if I can also teach somebody else of a different color, which is what Breathe Human's designed, because the life's compass thing, right?
And for people popping in randomly at this moment, that's energetic colors, not skin color.
Energetic colors, right? We're talking different energies. And if you guys haven't done a psychedelic experience yet, I know this might be like some woohoo to you, but believe me, man to man, I went from being the football player all-star, never did any drugs, and then I did all the bad ones, and then the psychedelics found me, and honest to God, the psychedelics is what saved me, because once I started doing these, I stopped doing less of these. And Breathe Human, if we can heal people despite what their energy color is, then you can heal more people, because now they can go and heal people that I could never heal, that you could never heal, that other coaches, like anybody else could heal, but the people that are destined for that. So that's Breathe Human. And it's going to be big.
How many people do you have in your following so far?
Oh boy. So far, and this me building the Breathe Human is all since COVID hit.
It takes time.
All since COVID hit. So I've had 2 one-on-one clients where they've gotten just all of my attention, but I use the Breathe Human coaching methodology, the mindset in everything that I do. And right now I'm an executive with a private solar firm. I'm building a solar panel cleaning business. I got a wedding service company. I'm getting my master's in psychology. Like, I use this in everything that I do in coaching. The exercises in my coaching, I bleed everywhere. I'll be sitting on a plane next to somebody. We'll start talking. There's this one gal on my way to San Diego. She just started opening up. I feel lost. I don't know what all this is going on. She didn't even know what I did. I'm like, well, hey, check it out. Let me run you through this little exercise. We did this one exercise. It was less than 5-10 minutes. And she sat back and was like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, it's that easy. This is what you focus on, and it'll lead you where you need to go. And
yeah, and so you told me you had an exercise that you wanted to share with everybody.
Yeah, It's an energy map exercise, and it is elementary in nature, but it is profound by design, right? It basically just, all you need is a pen and a paper, just like this, and a huge light bulb moment could go off for you. And if you're open to it, we could do you right now as an example.
Do me?
I'm just saying.
Robert, are you still listening? I think somebody's watching. I don't know if it's Robert. Robert does lots of cool stuff in the UK. Robert, why don't you get on? He'd be super fun to do.
Okay, we'll set it up for another time. But I started running this energy map exercise, and it's the basis for all coaching and anything that I do. If I'm about to work with somebody in anything, or just help someone out, that energy map is the starting point.
So the energy map, I'm like, I feel like we need like a big piece of paper that we can show for everybody. So how's the energy map go? Do we have stickies?
Basically,
Robert says that he's here. He can do it. Maybe I'll give him like the Zoom link. It'll be fun for him to hop on.
Yeah, I'd love to have
Can we invite him?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Robert's fantastic. I love him as a human. He's super good. But tell us more. So he's getting ready. Robert, I'm gonna DM you the Zoom link. Hopefully it'll work really quick. It's gonna be fun. I always get really excited when people get to jump on with us.
Let's do it. The last time my current client, he lost his mother to cancer a year ago, and she was blind, and he had taken care of her for the last 10 years. So out of high school, he put his entire life on hold. And when she passed away, he was like devastated. He was, my woman, like my life is no longer here. And the second session of our 2-month program together, we did this exercise, and that night was the night that everything shifted for him.
Yeah.
We were able to make sense of everything wrong, negative that he viewed in his life. And by being able to transmute those energy vampires into radiant archons, which I'll show you in a second, it was just a huge growth pattern from him. What's going on, man?
Yay!
Yo!
What's going on?
Oh, my friend. So excited to have you with us.
How's it going? Hang on, I'm going to plug these in because it's always better audio for me. I'm in quite an echoey room.
That'll work.
It's being weird on my computer. I'm like, hopefully, won't lose you guys.
I'm on a phone. Is that an issue?
No, you're fine.
Okay, you're loud now.
I had $1 for every time somebody told me that.
Try and turn your phone sideways.
Okay.
Boom. There we go.
Lovely.
Okay, I just have to, I can't look you in the eye now, otherwise I look boss-eyed on screen, but that'll do.
I like the ink, man. What do you got right here?
Which this one? I've got, this is ayahuasca.
Yep.
This is just snakes. This is my snake energy representing that. I got a Sri Yantra.
Yep.
Merkaba, or I've got various different animals and stuff like that as well. But
beautiful.
Yeah.
I had my first ceremony with Mother Ayahuasca this last fall.
Oh wow.
Yeah, beautiful experience. Beautiful. She's
like
a Sour Patch Kid. Very sour in the beginning, but very sweet in the end.
I could tell you a few stories.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, man, hey, great to have you, and I'm honored to be able to do this for you.
Nice to meet you.
Very much pleasure. So without further ado, let's kind of respect everybody's time. Let's jump into this. So you got a paper and a pen handy, correct? All right. So what you want to do is you want to have it sideways, horizontal like this. It's going to give you the most room. And use the whole paper. Don't try and do all small. This is going to be what we call an energy map. In maps, you want it to be big so you can read it out, okay? Let's suspend logical thinking for a second. I want you to not think, but feel with intuition and almost like a childlike way, okay? Now, when you look at this paper, think of it not as being a paper. This is going to represent your entire energy universe, your energetical universe, okay? What I want you to do is you're going to write your name in the dead center. And what you're going to do is you're going to circle it with a little bubble. Okay. Now what that's going to do is this is going to represent you as being the center of your universe. Now, I don't know what it was like for you guys across the Atlantic, but from us, when we were kids, if we did something that was selfish, some older or elder that would say, the world doesn't revolve around you. Did that ever happen to you, Elysia?
Only a few times.
Only a few times, same as you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
While that's true, the world doesn't revolve around us. It's also false because your world does. We attract, we repel, we manifest, and we really are the center of our worlds, okay? So when you do this exercise, and whoever's doing this following along, just know that you're the middle of this, right? You're the center of your world, okay? Now, on the top left here, you're going to write down energy vampires. So energy vampires, top left, and you're going to go ahead and underline it. Now, from here, moving down in a bullet point format, you're going to write down everything you know you do that wastes your time. That is a bad, poor habit. That is a toxic relationship. For me, it was video games. It was sleeping with too many women. It was drugs. It was no self-confidence. It was letting my body fall aside. But that was for me. So for you, write down everything you know you engage in, and the person, anything like that, that is just not serving you. No rush, take your time.
Oh, I actually feel bad writing my own mum down.
I actually had to do that too.
I've done a lot of work around that, and actually I'm not sure whether it's applicable to this list anymore, but okay, so let's rattle past that.
There's no right or wrong. This is what you feel.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. She has to go in there. She's far too negative. Fear. Okay, so to start with, I've got too much time on my iPhone. Alcohol, I've started playing with that again recently, which I know better, and it kicks my ass every time I go anywhere near it. Stepmother, for sure. Mum is very negative. I can feel heavy. But yeah, this is from somebody who's been on a medicine path and self-awareness for quite some time. But yeah, so, you know, otherwise my list would have been considerably longer, even in that short space of time, you know?
Yeah, yeah, so completely understandable.
Mine.
Let's hear it.
What was that, sorry?
Did you want me to share mine?
Yeah, go on.
I know, Robert, you like it when I share my randoms. I put eating sugar, watching TV, dating apps sometimes, though, because I have gotten some good quality friends platonically from dating apps. And then thinking about people I wish that would call. But don't.
Okay, so before we jump into all those, what you want to do is you want to circle each one individually.
Yep.
Okay, and you want to connect your bubble to their bubble, or their bubble to your bubble with a single negative tether. So it looks like a line, but that's an actual tether. Okay. Now on the top right hand side, you're going to write down radiant archons. Radiant is R-A-D-I-A-N-T. I didn't know that when I first did this, so I just throw it out there every time. Archons, A-R-C-H-O-N-S. And you're going to underline that one. Now, you're going to take a deep breath, reset the negative energy. Okay. Now you're going to feel everything in this world that calls to you, that brings you life, that casts the vision in your mind. Me was being on stage and bringing thousands together with the power of music. And it has led me to some of those beautiful experiences, building a beautiful body, empowering others. Doing this right here is a huge radiant archon for me, is challenging people's perspectives on what was right to be wrong and wrong to be right. But for you, feel this through.
These are just all the things that bring us joy, right?
Joy and visions. Where
Joy
it's like,
and visions. It doesn't
if
have
I
to be
could-
both. It's like one, it can be like one or the other.
It's
or
both, yeah. Yeah. It's things that bring you joy and the things that are calling to you from a higher self.
Some of the things that bring me joy don't also call to me from a higher self.
They don't have to be one and the same.
Okay, just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It could be creating platforms for people, for men to grow, and also spending time with horses.
Well, I didn't expect to be doing this tonight. What a treat.
Yep. Universe works at you through coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll do,
Yeah,
circle each one individually, Robert.
Yep.
And then connect that bubble to your bubble. And Elysia, how are we doing?
My list is so long, I think I'm out of paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That means if you have more on the Radiant Archon side than you do on the Energy Vampire side, that means you're, from what I can tell, and people I've worked with and done this with, generally you're a more positive person.
Yes. High five, Elysia.
Yay.
So guys, let me congratulate you, because what you did right now is what some will go their entire life without doing. And that is seeing exactly where they're at. Because as simple as this exercise is you didn't think when you did this, which means you didn't use your ego, you used your heart and your intuition. And you clearly just identified everything negative in your life that is holding you back and everything positive that is meant to propel you forward. Now from here, it is a matter of, one, being real with yourself and understanding why an energy vampire is an energy vampire. If it's a person, it is because you have allowed that person to be an energy vampire and drain your energy. If it is a habit, you have allowed that habit to remain. So even though it says energy vampires, you are allowing that energy to go in that direction.
Yeah.
You have not set the boundary. You have not taken a stance. Therefore, we're not exercising the full potential of our willpower. But as I work through Clients and Breathe Human, We break down strategies. Well, first we understand why it's an energy vampire. Then you break down strategy on how to reduce, eliminate, or challenge. Those are the main three. If you can do those three, most of those are going to diminish, go away on their own. For me, Robert, to share with you, one was my mother. At one point, she was, every time I was on the phone with her, because she lives here in Denver and I'm in Colorado or California, all negative, 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 negative. Couldn't be on the phone with her for more than 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. This is my mother. I'm a single child. This is my mom. I had to challenge that. I had to let her know what she was becoming in my life, right? And then as I ascended as a man and I grew in spirituality, in my being, in business, and as I grew into my potential, what happened? It influenced her. Now she starts on the path too. Because that's what happens when we heal. We grow. And it's like if you give all your resources away before your time, if you give all your resources away too young, you can't grow and act as a beacon for others to grow because you don't have the resources. Now I had the resources and I influenced my mom. So I turned that negative into a positive, right? But that's how we work with energy vampires. Now, once you eliminate these and you start to reduce those tethers, well, what's the natural thing that's going to happen? You're going to have more energy, more time, and more focus, and you're going to be vibing higher, and all that is going to go to your radiant archons. So with the removal of energy vampires, your radiant archons becomes your world. And when you are living in your archons with more joy, more passion, more fulfillment, you grow as a human. You ascend. And when you ascend, you influence others to ascend. Don't be fooled. Eventually, you're going to come to a point where you're going to have to do this again because life always adds shit in there. And you just like when you're growing a garden, you got to keep pulling weeds out. You don't just do it one time. You got to keep an inventory of what belongs and what doesn't. And that's the basis for that energy map.
Because you can replace one distraction with another as well. You know, if you're talking about your iPhone and habits and stuff like that, one habit goes, another one comes in and all that sort of stuff. What I also found was interesting actually was nothing holds me back other than myself. Fully appreciate that. However, in your subconscious, some of the stuff on the right isn't being realized because some of the stuff on the left is, you know, as in, oh, I couldn't do that. What would my family member think? Kind of way. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like.
I was going to say, do you want to give an example there?
Yeah, let's go through.
So I'm kind of really keen when I was really feeling into that. I got connection. So connection with other people, something that I don't really have a lot of since I moved, and haven't had for a while because I've moved a lot over the last few years or so. Helping others, getting closer with spirit, which ties into another one further down, holding ceremonies, and I mean ayahuasca ceremonies because I know that's part of my full potential. Freedom to roam. So earning enough money, let's be brutally honest about it, to allow that. Fully submersing myself in a different culture. I didn't tell you, but I'm a shamanic practitioner and I've got a good foundation in that. But I feel like I really want to fully submerse myself in another culture to further my understanding. Now, I'm not sure which culture is right for me yet, but that's when I'm thinking, oh, my mum, you know, moving abroad. That would consist of moving abroad, and how would that affect my mum and stuff like that. So, you know, so it's not being held back by some of the stuff on the left as well, I guess.
So in an example of a coaching situation, and what I would do is I would say, okay, how much is the restriction of your mother inhibiting you from following this dream? 1, and 2, if you were to achieve this dream and grow and serve others, because as a shaman, that's what you do. If for you to grow and serve others, how much more people could you influence and heal through that power? And with this vision, let's now realize how much this energy vampire is holding back such greatness.
Well, actually, as you're speaking there's another part of it coming in, is that she's a deeply rooted Christian. And actually, if she knew the extent to how I worked, she'd probably think I was some sort of satanic worship.
There's a very interesting book that you would be interested in. It's called The Religion with No Name by Brian Muraresku, that was heavily promoted by Graham Hancock. And Graham Hancock, not sure if you're aware, huge proponent of ayahuasca and the healing properties that the ceremonies have. Brian Muraresku has never done a ceremony though. So he comes from a highly religious background, but over the last 10 years, he dove deep into the annals of history and religions. And he was able to find very powerful evidence that even, I'll go on record saying this from his book, but even at the root of Christianity is spirituality, which came from psychedelic experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. Just really interesting. Going off slightly off subject, I have some fascinating conversations with my 93-year-old grandfather, who's been also deeply Christian his whole life. And for each thing that I say in a spiritual context, he can recite a verse in the Bible, which means exactly the same thing. It's such an interesting conversation. And he doesn't do it to prove me wrong. He just, it's basically, he's just studied it his whole life, and it just sparks something in his mind and takes him back to that lesson, that chapter, that verse that he read, So they're one and the same. I mean, it's all the same. It's just different routes to whatever the truth is up there. I think all we need to do is cut loose the human need for our virgin to be right. And I think, if I'm critical about Christianity, that would be my main criticism, is that they're unwilling to accept other people's perspectives as to what spirituality and relationships with God should be,
Yep. It's interesting that it's coming to this circle, because my ayahuasca ceremony, we had a taita, a shaman from the jungles of Costa Rica, came from a 60, 90-year lineage. And every time he served me the medicine, the only English this man spoke was, "God bless you. God bless you." It's highly Christian ceremony, deeply rooted. We played Christian worship music throughout the whole thing. Dude didn't even speak English. I was like, that's so interesting. Interesting. But I think that's an amazing path for you. And to have that vision, I mean, you can't quantify that. If once you achieve that vision, how many men you could heal, how many women you could heal, and serve as that bridging point, that connector from pain to healing in people's lives.
Thank you so much for walking us through that exercise. And it's a pleasure to meet you as well. And I'm glad I jumped on the live. Elysia, thank you for holding this space and creating this space.
You're very
and for what you do when it comes to just being aware and actually stepping out and trying to help what is really needed within men's circles, and
thank you.
in general.
I really appreciate that. And we actually this is an extra special day because we have another person coming on just after this. So Alex has to leave soon, and Nick Wood will be joining us next, if you're still around and want to try and hang out with yet another person. But it's really interesting, Alex, because in the beginning, I don't talk to people very often about like when I was a kid and what I wanted to do, right? And so it's so interesting that this particular conversation went the way that it did, because when we talked about that, one of the goals that I had when I was a kid is I wanted to be a photographer and a journalist for National Geographic, so that I could go and immerse myself in Aboriginal cultures and tie that to modern day society, so that modern day society could experience the wonder and natural reverence that Aboriginal people have without changing the beautiful culture that the Aboriginals hold, and then being able to like wind together. And so I just find it really fascinating that you're like, I don't know which culture to immerse in, and how you're growing up and trying to honor and create that bridge of wonder through the ayahuasca ceremonies, ceremonies, and the reverence that's there, and reconnecting people more deeply to their true selves. So thank you for sharing that and what you do in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Alex, thank you so much for showing up in the way that you do in the world and leading us through the exercise so we could experience this together and vulnerably share with whoever might be watching in the future.
Absolutely. And that kind of ties into my final theme of that. That's what I feel is to be a man, and to be a woman in your skin is follow that vision that you have and to stay the course. Because I don't believe we have enough people doing that in society, and it's apparent. It's around us. People aren't fulfilled. They're not happy. They're doing this job to make money, which is nothing wrong with that, to feed their family. But more people living life and influencing others in such a positive manner, that's what I feel we're really designed to do. And that's what my life path is. And it sounds like you're pretty close to that, Robert. That's amazing.
Yeah, I am actually. It's just a case of actually recognizing where I am, having come through, 4 years of awakening and healing, really. And there's been a lot of work that was needed. But yeah, just in a position now where I'm not reaching out because I know that I have enough. What I'm creating at the moment, with a few different ventures, is going to help make time abroad and deep diving into a culture and learning possible, because some of it will be a passive income and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, definitely on the road. But yeah, looking forward to it. Who knows where it goes?
Alex, Robert also makes beautiful music. And I know how much you love music. So maybe you guys should connect offline and get to share that aspect of your lives.
Well, I'm no musician. I was inspired during...
Stop.
I was inspired by...
no, you're not. I've listened to you play music. You are a musician. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to throw that limiting belief right out the window. I'm calling you out right now. That's a bunch of BS. So you want to reframe that statement for a second?
I'm an amazing musician. I haven't got a clue what any notes are or anything like that, because I've intuitively been playing native flute, having been inspired during ayahuasca ceremony 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You're an intuitive musician.
There you go.
You might not be a classical musician, but you are absolutely still a musician.
Now I know how to phrase it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Beautiful, guys. Well, my time's just about come, and
thank you, Alex.
What a joy this was. I'm very glad we were able to have you on as a guest, Robert.
Thank you. All right, take care.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you everyone for watching out there, and until next time, bye.